thanks for being here, even though you have no other choice, kind of. No, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for accepting the talk. Just a short introduction. I'm actually a graphic recorder and scientific illustrator with a scientific background on biochemistry. And on the other hand, origami has been in my life since I'm 6 years old, thanks to my mom, who is folding as well. So it's kind of in the family. And in my job, I produce a lot of social media content. And on the other hand, I like to observe what goes on social media and maybe what works and what works not, what I want to use. And I'm going to share with you something that I found interesting, but I'm not trying to convince you to use more social media, because to use it professionally, it takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And if you're not directly like earning money with it, it's always, of course, your decision how much effort you put in. The one thing that every person in marketing, digital marketing, will tell you is that no matter which account you have and which pages you use, you should have a website that everything is backlinked to. Because we have no clue how long these social media accounts will actually stay popular, stay alive, they change the algorithm, something gets hacked. So if you're there on the long run, always have like a website. For some, it's even a YouTube channel that is your home, where people know how to find you. That's like the golden rule. And from all these accounts, I figured, that's okay. I wanted to draw out the origami community. So at least for Germany, I know it quite well. There is this big mass of people going to conventions. Of course, the target group is even larger outside of the convention. But the people at the convention, they're usually the folders. They fold everything they like. For us, the largest amount is a woman actually in the age of 40 to maybe 50 or 30 to 50 that loves to collect paper. They fold stars, they fold boxes. That's the typical German folder. And they buy paper to collect paper. They never fold everything they have, but they collect paper. They just love it. And those are your groupies that want your signature, that buy your books. Of course, there are more, but this is the mass. And then there is an evolution of a folder. So some of them are very social. They think, I can teach. I maybe found even a local group. I will just start one. And some of them think, maybe I could do more than teaching. I might have some own models, and I might be able to earn a bit of money with it. Either because I work with commercials with companies together and make origami more popular. Maybe even become an artist. And some even start maybe a little business of making their own paper. So you find all of them at conventions. It's semi-professional, most of them. And then there is the blue mass. That's you, the creators. Some of you do origami for a living or can live from it, but it's always a connection of some usually artistic stuff. Others are mostly do it in their free time, but they're known as the creators. So they create all the content for all the red mass. And all of them are somehow on social media accounts. And most of them, like the big red mass, are historical-wise on Facebook. Like almost everyone has a Facebook account. And Facebook is even growing, but it's getting older, which is a fact. Origami-wise, most people were on Flickr, who were designers and put up nice pictures. So let's go through the separate accounts. Facebook and LinkedIn are actually pretty similar because they work the same way. They have even a similar appearance. But Facebook is good for one thing, for events now. If you have a convention you're going to, either you're invited at a special guest, it is perfect to actually post online that you will be there. If you have a new book coming out, if you have a new diagram, to always put your link to your website in, or maybe it's an official public folding event. Facebook is really good for people letting them know where you are. to have your groupies, of course. Then it is amazing for sharing links, because for Facebook is easy to use. So many people know how or understand how it works. You don't have to have a certain amount of followers to put content up there. It doesn't limitate you in the links you can put up. It's your images you can upload, you can share stuff. And you can promote your new product. Of course, you can use money to promote stuff, but you can use a lot of money and little money to see how many people you can reach. Facebook even gives you all the statistics to it. If you go by the algorithm, it's supposedly that way that Facebook likes it when you post once a week, which is hard if you're inventing models. So your own content. You can do, of course, less. So it doesn't stress you out. Facebook likes image in a landscape format. It allows others as well. And it's a huge and large community. And of course, you have the fortunate effect that you can put galleries up from events and the groups. So just going marketing-wise, if you have, which most of you do, a favorite group, which is from us, some of them tessellation groups, you can already put your contact to people that already know you, that are interested in your content. And Facebook is actually one of the easiest social media accounts that doesn't stress you out. So what works well there, it's sad that the PDF is not at a high resolution, but I chose Sébastien Limé because he did this wonderful image of the panda. And even on the sad event. But the same image actually is in his Instagram feed, because so many people even move to Instagram. But you have the big chance on Facebook to have a single image and to tell a story. Like, you can really invent yourself. You can tell a story just by one image. It is proposed like on a wall. So you can make a painting out of it. The same image on Instagram just is a little bit lost in the feed, which is sad because it says a lot. The difference is just by perception. On Facebook, you first have the text. You can add a lot of text. People actually interact with you. And then you can just set your image there and see what's happening. Instagram is much faster, and it's all screwed up. It's just colorful. It works in other ways. But for storytelling with an image, Facebook is great. I picked Robin, he didn't know about it. But he said something yesterday in Gavin's workshop. He said he likes, and that's the middle image, to put an image there and uses Facebook because Facebook decides then that all the following images, or at least 3 of them, are displayed in a much smaller amount. So it is visual storytelling as well. You can teaser your model, and then you show different sides of it. So he uses it actually as visual storytelling. You can have a personal content there, like people expect you to show up actually on Facebook. It's kind of cuddly. On the other hand, the same image on his Instagram feed goes, of course, it doesn't really show up that well. Of course, you have the single display. But you see that when people first see your account on Instagram, they see just a mass of squared images. Facebook is much more kind in that way. And it's for you most of the time, you have to publish your model somewhere to know that you're the first one. Facebook is quite good for that, and everybody can interact with you. And he even posted this one in the tessellation group. So it's like targeted marketing. Right. Right. So you can really check if you're the first one and you're the inventor. The one thing is that Facebook, or what most people, for Germany it's that way, people look at Facebook on their way to work and when they come back, and even at lunch. So the algorithm favors, or doesn't much favor, but it works really well if you post like your images very early or in the afternoon. So most people can see it. You can see the interaction rate. You can even integrate a business account, because I know that some people don't really want all their friends to see it, so only special friends, and you can have your Facebook business account in your own, so you don't have an extra password, you just put it in once. You can even do a shop underneath or anything, something completely different, so you can even distinguish hobbies. Like if you like painting and origami, you can totally separate them, but you have one login. The one thing is that we had yesterday with Garvin, it's kind of hard to use all the same images. You should take good images, but using them on all the different accounts is kind of hard because there are people that might follow you on Facebook and on Instagram and on Flickr. And if they see the same image every time, they kind of delete one of your accounts because it's no additional value. So you should try that if you want to put in the effort. And Flickr and Instagram. Flickr is a pretty picture gallery, actually wonderful pictures, and Instagram is the new thing on that one. But the Instagram images have a really short lifespan. So if you load something up and you want to remember it later, you actually have to do a screenshot because you will never find it anyways, except you know who posted the image. Nice thing about Instagram, you can link the accounts to one another. It's a lot of social interaction, so to say. And they work with hashtags really well. So you can make the rate of people seeing your image higher just by using hashtags. But it is the square format. It's one of the things. Instagram is a bit tricky. Fun thing is when you start Instagram just for trying, it's okay because at the beginning, nobody will see you. So I tried a lot of stuff, even in the stories. Messed up probably so many times, embarrassed myself, nobody saw it because after 24 hours, the story is deleted. But the post will stay. If you want to make Instagram happy, the algorithm, you have to post once a day, which is a pain. And the image should be a square. If it's not, and I chose Gregor. Gregor, the German folder, he has actually a YouTube account. He's managing right now like instruction videos, and what happens to him sometimes, there's a stegosaurus in the middle, it's the red one. If you have an image that is horizontal, it will be cut off in the feed, which is really sad for some models. So Instagram forces you actually to use images that are squared, or you modify them so that they fit in the frame and you have a white frame on the left-hand side or left and right side. You can play around it, but you always have to go back and work on the image. So for Instagram, you have to love the square format. And as we learned yesterday in the photo workshop, it's kind of hard with the thirds, like positioning. It's like, well, okay. Yeah, yeah. Another thing is what works well on Instagram, and that's why I like it. You can find or have fun, you can play around to find a theme, a color, a theme, a story, a material. And I have some examples for that. That's actually why I like it. But of course, always have a backlink to a web page, to a YouTube channel. You can use links. There's something like Linktree. Like you can put your website actually in your profile. But most people use Linktree because sometimes they have certain offers. If it's interesting if you have a shop. It's called Linktree. That's actually the name of it. I wasn't able to manage it, so for workshops or anything, but people say it's really easy. So I choose Oriol. There is a pattern actually. It's not all over the feed because on Instagram you always see if you have a profile 3 by 4 images. So for Oriol, who sees a pattern in at least 3 images that are close to each other? Yeah. Right. Because what people like is if you're doing something colorful that's alike, or maybe the same model from different angles. On the right side, there's this little beer guy. And what I loved about it, it was first in yellow with the beer bottle, then on his hand, blue, and then as a drawing. So what you can experiment with is starting patterns on your Instagram feed, because some people only see the separate image. But if you're actually trying to get more followers, more people to know you, that's like your business card, the first thing they see. And if they're having fun going back and forth to your separate images and your feed, for some reason they stick longer with you and they share more. So what Daniel Cheng is doing, he has of course a rhythm, which is his masks, but many folders are kind of shy. He is too. So what he sometimes do, he promotes himself by just putting a colorful image in there, wearing one of his masks. It was one of the biggest he ever did. And it was fun, and it kind of solves his problem of, I actually don't want to get in touch with the people except on conventions, because Instagram wants you to kind of show up there. But not many folders are that way. So you can have fun without even showing yourself. And you see in his images, it's always the black and white. And there, what is fun on one row is that he has the look on the faces like in a circle, left side, front, right side. So you can play with those images a lot, which is fun for somebody who doesn't know who you are. Then Bodo. Bodo does a lot of complex origami. The fun thing for his account is he has a short name, so they find him easily. He has his YouTube channel as a web address in there, and he uses something that are called the highlights on Instagram. It's the round little circles. Since Instagram is so short-lived, whatever you put up there, it's nice if you have like a new book coming out, a new paper or something that really like create like a time-lapse video. And it's something that you put into your Instagram story, and you can save up there so that everyone can even see it after. You can always delete what's up there, but it's to really make it pop out and available. And Bodo started some kind of rhythm as well. It's on one hand his dinosaurs, but what is fun is actually this cross. So it's the light paper and the green grass. And he even puts the patterns in there. You can go wild with assorting these images. The hard thing is, of course, they always go down a row. So Instagram just adds images and then scooches them down. So every once in a while you have the pattern, and on the other time you don't have it. But you can go nuts with this. Peter Keller has produced origami paper. Nicholas had it even in his shop. It was really light paper because Peter loves modular folding. So what he did on a regular basis, he went nuts folding modules. And he told me even when he posted something like this, a series, which he actually did not do every day. Sometimes he does, but when you do something like this, you even post 3 images in one day. Of course, it's prepared, it's scheduled. Like if you do Instagram really professionally, you should schedule your posts. But he told me as soon as he put out those images, sales just went up because people like pretty pictures. The tile design you see here, as he did on the blue image, you can do in Illustrator, Affinity Designer, Photoshop. You just have to make a grid. Yes, there are 12 images, 3 by 3. So what you can do is if you prepare something like this to put out on one day the first 3, because Instagram kind of doesn't like you anymore if you put out more than 3 in a day. They're weird. So you can schedule them, and of course you always have to write a text to it and put a hashtag. And what I do if I have fun with the Origami Germany account, what I do on conventions, I do a 3 by 4 tile design that are not connected to show what the exhibition was, link everyone, which is important. But if I'm not doing that, I'm doing like sections of 3 to promote our special guests, maybe how to get to the convention, something fun that they know is coming up in 3 so that I always keep my rhythm. But I'm not a big fan of Illustrator. I do this in Procreate. So I have a tile design there for my personal account, and I always put stuff in because I like to draw. And then I cut it out. I delete the background, it's on a layer in Procreate, and then I prepare my tiles. You can even prepare posts on Instagram, like you don't have to do it magically every day. You can prepare the tiles just in the right order and then upload them after days. So I became very efficient with it and post like every few weeks because I don't care about the algorithm. I have my followers on Instagram, but they're not my clients. So, and then maybe you have an account with a lot of structure. So here is the color theme as well. It's brownish, it's grayish, and a lot of structure allows you to sometimes just break the rhythm with a really colorful image. It works as well. It's interesting, people click on the images, they follow you. What happens quite often if you're hunting for likes on Instagram is that right now, if you sell something, highest sales are actually when you post something on Fridays and Sundays. On Saturday, right now, magically, nothing is happening. Nobody knows why. But there's certain rhythms, and I have a few accounts that I follow where people analyze this. So that's whenever I know there's a trend. But I only know this because I watch their stories. And there are bots on Instagram that can help you post your images on a regular basis, but Instagram doesn't like you for that. So you can do it. But it depends on, do you want to gain followers? Do you want to become an origami blogger? Most of you, I think, don't want that. They just want to have a business card there. So what you can do as well, you can link stuff in your stories, but Instagram is mean. You get privileges only if you have 10,000 followers or more. You can do a trick. There's Instagram TV. They can put links into your website. So you see, it always looks fun, but it's not always fun. Instagram is visited on the way to work and back, not really around lunchtime for some reason. There are 3 channels, the video channel, the image channel, and the IGTV. What happens right now is they become pure entertainment. People make movies of themselves. They talk into the camera, which I do most of the time too. So it's always kind of irritating when I see the people in person. Some I don't even recognize outside of this little frame. But it becomes like a Netflix and YouTube series now. It really does because of the IGTV. So you can use it for this if you're the person who likes to be seen. You can really use it for yourself and actually post along your day. And what is really mean, like really new accounts are now in favor of the algorithm. So if you open up an account right now, you will have many likes and many followers in a short amount of time. Big bloggers are desperate right now because they don't gain any more likes and followers. Instagram doesn't favor those right now. And some people have an account that just doesn't need any advertising. It just works. It's amazing. They're just there. But having an account there, I hope it's actually the real one because they're ghost accounts really fast. So sometimes it's just good to have someone there so nobody else is kind of imitating you or trying to be you. Okay, so that was the big hard part. Now we're faster. LinkedIn and Twitter, they're business accounts. Twitter is, even though LinkedIn is similar to Facebook, I use Twitter on scientific events. And there are only a few of you on Twitter. So it's a business account, and Twitter could really be useful if you want to have something, do something out of the paper world. So if you have something that you can apply from origami to science, to math, to tech, to engineering, the people that will see it are there. And since origami is quite rare on Twitter, accounts like Mikael's or Ekaterina Lukasheva are seen, and it's fun. Like, they work a lot of hashtags too, but you have to be really short. You have to be precise with your text. There's not much on it, and Twitter as well favors the landscape format. So I use only Twitter really at events. The day I'm there, not before, not after. Not many posts, so it doesn't stress me out, which is nice. But if you have some kind of origami application outside of the paper world, it is very useful.
What's the benefit from Twitter and all the others? Why do I need Twitter and all?
Actually, Twitter is one of the rarest that can be used in origami. It's really only interesting if you have like a design or a technical application, because the people that you could do business with are there. They don't care about Instagram. They're just not there.
I've noticed that a lot of the Japanese creators use Twitter.
Yeah, they do, and I have no clue why. Maybe because it's not blocked for them. Like there's some social networks that are not available in all parts of the world. And I think because it's a business social media originally, they use it. And it allows storytelling as well. But it depends on your phone if you're able to do this, because mine doesn't. I can not show more than one image on Twitter. I think my app is stupid. But it does, what Robin did on Facebook is possible here too. This is the very hard slide. And I had a talk with Melisande about this. And I chose an image that hurts Daniel quite a lot, the one with the masks. Pinterest is really a hard case because lots of the images are stolen. They're shared on Pinterest and nobody knows who's the creator. This can bother you, bothers me as well. And the only thing you can do against this is to be the first one posting your image. It's like a snowball effect. If you're the first one and they share it, you have the reference to your creation. If somebody makes origami design out of your paper model, like a tattoo, at least you're the creator, but you probably have no chance of getting any money out of it. But Pinterest is in that way mean. I mean, many people get inspired by it, but if you want to make sure that they know your name because your design gets so fancy, nobody expected this cute fox by Daniel to become a tattoo. And he's sitting in the metro on the underground and he sees people wearing his design. It's really, he's mad about it, but he can't do anything. And origami designs, every 5 to 10 years, they become really popular as tattoo models. And that's actually the main part because it's always on finding your social media that fits your niche, where you think, do one. Actually, from my experience, do one well if you want to, and don't care about the others. You can have accounts there, yes, but some stress you out, for some you don't have time. If I do a lot of social media marketing for my own company in a day, I spend there 4 hours, and it's desperate. And then I made Instagram happy, Twitter, and Facebook. And half of my day is gone. And I can't do this all the time. It's a job. So, and I don't have yet a social media manager because the accounts live from your personality. So you cannot cut everything off from your personality to feed them just to make others happy. Especially if you're not earning the money with it, but you don't only want to be present. So pick one where you know you can do the images, you can work with the hashtags. There's of course much more to know about them. But they're good for certain people, like how much you want to communicate. And I really love this image because it's like finding your rhythm and rock your channel. Thank you.
Can you say something about social media manager? Where can I find one?
Actually, they're huge on Facebook. There are big groups on virtual assistant. And they can actually do this for you. The problem is, what many people don't understand, to have somebody, pay someone who could manage this for you, you have to give them content. So it's easy if they tick like you, if they have like a similar understanding of what you want to, like how you want to present yourself. And usually virtual assistants do this now. They're somewhere in the world, you brief them what you like, and then they actually clear out with you the schedule, when you want to post something, what you should post, and then you always give them the text and the images. And they post for you, but you have to give, of course, all of them your logins. That's what I don't like about it, but that's how it works. Down here.
So one thing I'd like to highlight is that there was a point when Flickr was the place where origamists gathered, and now lots of people are moving over to Instagram. But there is one difference which I think is very important, is that you mentioned it actually, that in social media, especially Instagram, things live for a very short time. So while things posted on Flickr are searchable and are still available after many years, on Instagram practically after 1 or 3 days, it's practically down the drain, and nobody's going to see it ever. Yes. Unless they know they should go to your timeline, and if you post a lot, they will get tired of scrolling and they won't find it anyway. So many times when I had a design, I wanted to look for someone else doing the same thing or something similar. I was able to find a post by someone from 10 years ago. And first of all, I was able to find it. Second of all, it contained enough text to not only see a pretty picture, but actually to learn something about the model. On Instagram, there is space for text, but I think it's just it's not so important. People care about the pretty pictures, not about how it's made. So it doesn't have this education factor,
Right.
and it goes away. So I think that part of origami history, which lives on Instagram, will mostly be gone forever if it's not in some other place.
All right.
My question is for people here who have like massive followings. Like Robbie here has like 56,000 people on Instagram. You should follow him, Eckrod Paper. How was their experience with this happening? Did it follow what you're talking about? Was there like somebody reposted them and things blew up? Like, what was the evolution of becoming this like Instagram superstar? Robbie?
I could answer that. So
Thank you.
in 2015, to sort of focus my origami game, I decided to fold somebody's piece of work and somebody else's design and do it once a day. That formula that you mentioned, post once a day. And I think that I was, at the time, maybe one of the earlier, there weren't too many origami artists on there. And I just got noticed by Instagram. That's all it was. I did it for 9 months, and then what they did was they put me on the featured something behind the scenes where all new accounts, when you create an account, they say, hey, would you like to follow one of these accounts to get you started? And that's all it was. And it just took off in a day.
You can actually play a game. I did this once at the Italian convention. I like to call it Catch the Pokemon. I'm asking everyone who's there, I'm looking them up on Instagram because usually they have the name on the little tags on their exhibition, and I followed all of them. And in a matter of a day, I had 100 followers more. It's a hard work for one day, but it's the other way of gaining followers and letting them know you. The other thing is origamists they're a nice crowd. They stick with you. They barely unfollow you, no matter what you do, even if you unfollow them. But it's a mean game on Instagram to follow someone or like an image and think they follow you back and like you back. And many accounts do that. It's most of all in the art and the lettering world. It's that way. But yeah, it's like catching Pokemon. That's why I call it that way. You can do it.
Can you speak to choosing hashtags for Instagram? Because I noticed that there are some, and they tell you 5.6 million posts with this hashtag, and a very similar one, maybe the plural, 2,000. So what is the best? And is there a limit to the number of hashtags that you should use before Instagram maybe thinks you're spamming them?
Yeah, there's actually, I don't know who put out the numbers, but I know that you should never use more than 30 hashtags. 30. But you're typing a lot, so it's annoying. Yeah, actually. But no, Instagram allows many hashtags, and a lot of people use a lot. Like one typical thing is, if you have an origami model like Dinosaur Godzilla, it's like, of course, Dinosaur Godzilla, something that's not really. Green, always the color, then origami, then maybe in 2 languages, that your English and yours. And of course, maybe even your account as a hashtag, because there is one Instagram version where you can only look up stuff. And it's randomly showing you things that could interest you by the hashtags you used. So other origamists, if they use the same hashtags, they show up in your feed without you ever looking for them. It's just a search page on Instagram. But for some reason I had a long discussion about this because he always went by color, and color for some reason works well if you have the color of your model there. And so about the hard thing is what I do now for the Origami Germany account, which seems to help a lot. I always post in German and in English. For an association, it's okay because we have international guests. And like you can't really do like, no, it's not a bracket, it's like an Absatz? Paragraph. You can't really do paragraphs, not nice ones, or leave like a line out. So there's a trick of always putting emojis in there or dots. Like if you want to structure your text, you have to trick Instagram. But when I look up hashtags, I usually do this on Twitter because it tells me quite well the amount. It sometimes does on Instagram too. It always changes. But I actually made a list of the most common hashtags and how much is on there. Actually, and then I chose the ones. Or it is always good, like on a convention like this or an event like this, invent a hashtag for the event, because that you can use on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook, even though hashtags on Facebook are not that used that often. I use like maybe 10 hashtags, not more. I'm tired of typing. Not in a bad way. What I would actually tell them to use, which one? Hmm? Yeah. I think Facebook is maybe for some the most boring one, but it's the most consistent one. It will grow. It has the biggest community, and it's the easiest to handle from phone, from the computer. They don't get hacked that often, and it doesn't require the most nicest images. Like there in the Origami Germany group, we have Parum Solov. It's a woman who always posts fuzzy kuzudamas. People still like them. So, and being in the groups is the best targeted marketing you can do, or exchange in groups. It's Facebook is really the most easiest one. And if you can do that, it's fine. You have a chat function. You can get all the information you need, and even for the events, like be there where most people are, and it's easiest for you. That's like the easiest equation on that one.
So I was going to say that I used to be fairly busy on Facebook and Instagram, but I'm finding it a chore, and I'm finding now that other people take better pictures than I do of me. So I've decided that I think I'm making a conscious decision to share other people's stuff rather than do my own. Is that legitimate?
Yes, it is, because it's the sharing button, and you see where it's from.
It saves me a hell of a lot of time.
Yes, it's totally fine, unless every once in a while you have some original work from yourself. I mean, I have the problem, I'm always behind my own phone. Like, unless I make an Instagram story, nobody sees me. Especially if I do the story for Origami Germany at the convention, it's like, who is talking behind the camera? Who's the one? Yeah, there's always this annoying person running around. It's like, it's me, but I don't want to wear the social media button. Yeah.
I have two related questions, so sorry for hogging your time. I'll say this, I really hate social media. I look at cats all the time, but that's different. But as far as using it for origami and these kinds of things, it actually stresses me out. And I know that like my family and like people I knew 15 years ago are all on Facebook, but I cannot be bothered to do this posting across platforms. Something that's really useful for me is I make my post for Instagram, and I don't know if they just do this or it's because they own them, but Instagram will allow you can just tell it to repost to Facebook. So I'm mostly on Instagram, and I'll post whatever on Instagram and then tell it to share on Facebook, and that way like my uncle will still see it without me having to do any extra work. The photos might not be ideal, but my uncle or whoever is still gonna like tell me I'm amazing. It's funny, family will like write funny things like that. The other question is, I hate posting. I get terrible anxiety about it. I'm almost like afraid of my own voice. Do you have any? And then I look at like all the idiots posting like complete nonsense. None of you, but just there is so much nonsense on there. And my thought is like, oh, who wants to look at more nonsense? On the other hand, if they're posting all this nonsense, why shouldn't I? I'm talking a lot. Do you have any thoughts on like, I don't know, how do we get ourselves to post?
Actually, I started with Instagram on this. I hated to hear my voice as well. So I only did short stories for the essential stuff. I like to be efficient on that one. And my current Instagram story is not. So it's way too many images from here and of pens. But in the beginning, when you start recording yourself, I always think it's easier. Peter did that always. You put your camera up when you're folding a model. Like you talk to the camera and they only see your hands. I really like that a lot. You probably mean before.
I'll adjust my question. Not just pictures of me or my hands, but I'm like, you know, who wants to see this thing I'm posting? Like I have those thoughts, like I get anxiety about it. And then I also realize that nobody actually cares, but maybe that's what I do need to realize.
Yeah, it's actually a lot of self-presentation on Instagram. I think this quite often as well. I look at the people who actually see my story, but be a copycat of the ones that you like. That's always was my inspiration on if I like what they do and they do it efficiently. So either they make fun of themselves. I like it sarcasm a lot, which gives me a lot of pain sometimes too. But you can try out what you feel most comfortable with. And no, not every story I have. The first take never goes actually online, barely, especially if I'm there. So after a time, you're either so tired of retaking the takes that you find which mediocre version is okay with you. Because you can edit. That's the nice thing. You can always edit and delete it and say, I think my first 3 days that I was trying to do the story, I didn't upload it because no, it wasn't for me. It took like half a year, then I was comfortable.
I opened an Etsy shop maybe 2 years ago, and I closed it after 6 months. And when I studied how to handle this, they said that Instagram supplies only 0.5% of the buying in Etsy. And Facebook is not much better. And the main social network that brings people who buy from Etsy is Pinterest. So I was wondering if you have any idea, if anybody did any kind of research, what's the benefits, the real benefits of having a 57 follower in Instagram? What's the point in all of this? That's a question. How can I make money out of it, if at all?
Thanks to the exclusive selection of people that like origami in the world, it's really hard to make money from it. So Pinterest, yes, works well if you have a shop. So, but you have then to put everything in, do nice pictures, link them. It's really most people that earn money and there's even on Pinterest are the lucky ones who were sponsored by someone who has a lot of followers. It's bad, but it's like networking on a convention, like talk to many people, it's the same online. You follow the big bloggers, the one that have many followers. Do you like my product? Can you promote it? It takes a lot of energy and it's like really, you run and to everyone who just like, and you beg for sharing and stuff and good hashtags. So it takes, actually the work you put in is barely comparable with what you can get out.
Okay.
Or you invest money for advertisement that works well, but then you put in a lot of money and you don't know if the people see it.
I wanted to ask about reaching outside the origami community. So I did last year. I like to fold little abstract models. They're just doodles, really, but they look quite good on Instagram because they're small and simple, and you get a nice grid. And they don't get as many likes as my figurative models. So I think what the public wants is a nice, pretty animal. Yeah, but I tagged them with different stuff, and I tried some abstract art tags and things, and I got interest from different places, and someone who runs like a photography group on Flickr found it and said, "Oh, can we repost? It's a beautiful photograph." And I'm like, "Yeah, this is great. I feel really happy," and I got nice comments back. And then I also got like loads of spam. Yeah, I got, "We will feature your account on Instagram, and you only have to pay $50." And yeah, and I got a stream of these in my message box, and I just wondered about the value of reaching out, because we all want more people to see our stuff, but we want origami to be better known. versus the irritation of it.
You can't avoid it. There are weeks where I get a lot of spam for some reason on somebody from India who wants to push my account. Then there are weeks on Instagram where there are a lot of weird messages, people want to connect you, and you already see that this is not a serious site, so you delete them directly or block them. Because somebody is selling, seems like, the accounts or the links to it, and there's no way yet avoiding it. So the price for reaching out is really quite high. So you have to get some kind of reward from yourself, some kind of joy, which for me is puzzling this feet together with the tiles, to have to really find something where it gives you something back. But really, it's barely with the people, unless there's like a magical border. There's one about 700 followers, one around 1,200 or 300. If you actually made it over 3,000 and then over 5,000, your account really gets high. But getting there is for most people, it's luck because somebody else reposted them. That's what happens to me sometimes. But at a certain point, I just gave up gaining more followers. It is a certain kind of business card. All my workshop participants, they know me on Instagram. My clients reach me over the website. And that's it. And Instagram, I think, is fun for the puzzling part.
I've got a question. When it comes to monetizing your online presence, has any of you experiences with Patreon? Patreon. It's a page where some people can pay for content that you give. A lot of the YouTubers have this, where they just give their patrons little snippets of their work up front. For example, that they publish that the patrons that they spend money for their work get like to see the video a week earlier, or they get special content and stuff. And it seems that most YouTubers get the most money they earn actually from Patreon nowadays. So I guess this would be a possibility to earn some money. But I heard it's also in the art scene that you can use this and stuff. I haven't actually really looked too deep into it, but it seems that a lot of people make really good amounts of money. It works that people just donate a little amount of money. They can do a single transfers, like give you €2 or something, or they can give you a monthly fee, and it sums up.
I actually have it in the artsy scene, the lettering scene, where people do it. And it seems to work out well because it's like appreciation of your work. But like for me, since I don't have really a product to give away, I never tried it, but I see it really often that people start to go on Patreon, always say in their Instagram stories, yeah, support me there. So it's actually, it becomes a thing in the art world a lot. There's one more.
Yeah, I was just wondering about using Facebook to promote. You only have one Facebook account, right? But if you want to use it to promote, say, origami, but you also want to put stuff about your camping trip to show to your family, is that gonna take attention
I
away
diverted.
from, what was that?
I would say do two accounts.
Do two accounts.
One origami account like underneath in the hierarchy, yours. Then you can always switch.
Okay.
Don't need a separate login. You can do it all via phone, via tablet. It's just in the top row. There's just a drop down, and then you switch to your origami account.
Okay.
That's really easy, and there's nobody else can actually post in it if you don't want to. That's what I do with my company. Like I'm the only one who can do the feed. Dasha.
It's not totally connected, but we mentioned Flickr, and I grew up on Flickr. And what Michal was saying, that Flickr was really the best, let's call it origami library. Even now, it's like archive of immense richness. Like you can find there inspiration for years of folding. if in this moment we imagine that we stopped a meeting and we would have only Flickr library, I think we can continue creating for years till we die happy. What I'm scared that now I have pro account on Flickr. That means that you can have unlimited number of photos, and there is a normal account which has just 1,000 photos. Doesn't seem like little number, but I have already like 4,500 photos. Not all of them are origami related. Not all of them are maybe worth keeping. But on Flickr, we really put all the links to the sources, to the inspiration. Yeah. Like there is this photo, there is this, that photo. These people were working on a similar things. They're really very interesting discussion in comments. It was really inspirational group at that time. And I am worried that now they raised subscription for pro account. I don't know exact numbers, but I was paying like $25 for year, what is very affordable for pro account. And now they raise it like 5 times more, and I'm not posting there anymore. So for me, like paying $150 for 2-year subscription, what is the best price, I guess, I'm starting to think that if it is worth. But I know the value of all these accounts, and we will lose them because I don't think people who are not posting will prolong their pro accounts. And I don't know how to save all this richness of that.
Yeah, so the increase in price was probably one of the factors that also drove people out of Flickr, apart from other things. Then on the other hand, yeah, well, maintaining and developing such a site certainly costs money. So this money doesn't come from nowhere. It comes, well, you pay in one way or another. On Instagram and Facebook, you pay with your privacy and your time by watching spammers and so on. So it's one kind, it's not always money, but you always pay. But one thing we can certainly do, and I think it's a good idea that everybody who has a Flickr account, even if it's not active, do it, like when they come home from this convention. Flickr allows you to export all your data, and it actually works. When you go into settings, there's an option to save your data. It takes a while, so you get a link by email. You download a zip file, and it contains all the images and all the metadata. So you get an XML file, but it's actually human readable. So you can just open it in a text editor and take text snippets out of it. It contains all the titles, all the text, all the tags, and so on.
Also
it's certainly
comments? If there is also comments.
I think comments are there as well. So
perfect.
it's certainly a good idea that everybody make this export, store this file somewhere, and in case Flickr goes down, you at least have a snapshot of what you already had there.
Yeah, I already did that. I downloaded everything from my account just 6 months ago, something like that, when I started hearing that Flickr was having problems. And now I have everything on my computer. Okay. But either way, I think that, well, I renewed my subscription to Pro just a couple of months ago, and they had some kind of promotion. I think I paid just $25, something like that, for to renew the subscription to Pro. I don't know if that still sticks there, but you could try perhaps this and see it still can have that promotion. I don't know.
Actually, there's one fun thing. Well, I believe in, I don't know if it will happen, but I'm on one or two big media conventions each year. Flickr will stay alive. Instagram will probably die at one day because TikTok or whatever they come up with will become popular. So, but if you have really good images on Flickr, you can of course reuse them if you downloaded them, to even put them on Instagram, because since it is so short-lived, there are actually many bloggers who repost every 6 months. And I know this image. The mass of the people, they don't notice it because Instagram, it's just pushing down so many, they cannot remember what they saw, so you can reuse your images actually. People are stupid.
maybe a good attitude to have is that none of these things are archiving your data in a reliable way. It sometimes has the illusion of that, but keep control of your data yourself. Keep all of your images as backups as the primary resource.
It's like do one media and do it good, but don't get stressed out about so many others.
Yeah, and I was mentioning the Internet Archive is a good nonprofit for backing up.
I understand that I can save my data. I didn't know that there will be also with comments and everything. That's great, but how leave it available for everybody to learn from there, or is that possible to recreate it somewhere as an archive available? You know what what will be lost for the people who are still learning from Flickr. I think everybody was using, most of us was using Flickr as a source of inspiration, diagrams, links. I learned about people from origami gurus, from Flickr primarily. And this will be lost, like I feel it like lost of national origami richness if we lost Flickr.
Yeah, well, you talk about taking control of your data, then that would mean that, for example, Facebook would be off limits because it was already deemed responsible for selling private data to a company in the British, for the British. So that puts you in a risky way if you think any company would be willing not to sell you off for any account of money. So the very many idea of the social media would be pointless if you want to take on, if you think you have control over your data.
I was one of the first Flick subscribers when it was a little Californian startup and the internet connection was so low, you need to upload your picture in the morning because the American people were sleeping. And I also was one of the first people to be interested in tessellations, and Flick was instrumental in making tessellation something in origami, because it all started with Eric Jurder and me and some friends communicating on Flickr. And I think without Flickr, there will be no tessellators at all here.
So let us suggest to have a World Heritage with UNESCO Heritage with data on Flickr.
Actually, there used to be a database. It was one of the coolest websites ever. When I knew Flickr but didn't use it, it was Interestingness. It was a page, and don't know if it exists anymore, that had a huge screen, and there were all Flickr accounts, the best one rated, and they always popped up, and they changed every day. And I was every day on this page. It was during my PhD. It was just like, what's new today? There were the most awesome images. It was not seldom origami, but Interestingness was one of the best output that I thought Flickr ever had, because it was a random selection, and you just wanted to stay there for a whole day. They were the best images.
Well, at the end, we should remember one thing, that Flickr is only one channel. And I've been doing translations. I've never used Flickr. So...
I am not saying Flickr is the best.
It's not a catastrophe.
There is no best. There is just right now more or less popular.
But would you like that the biggest library... No, I don't want to really... But it is a big library of free of content available for everybody. The pro accounts were paying some little money, really, to have more photos available there, but there was very little investment into it, and there is such a huge library now of. So I don't care about my account, but all of you and all of the people who are not here. For example, Philip Chapman Bell, he has you can spend there your life just following him, trying to understand what he does, doing that. And if he once decided, I'm not going to pay, then his account will be cut to 1,000 photos, and we lost all of it.
It's time for a break. He doesn't want to do anything for me.